This is all our stories.
And these are all our stories.
Yeah, man, this is all our stories. This is all our history and stories.
And these are all our stories.
These are our stories.
Yes, you are tuned to All Our Stories, broadcasting out of PBS in Melbourne. My name is Jess Fairfax. Unfortunately, my co-presenter and producer Leah Avene is unable to join today. She's off gallivanting around the world, but I am here to bring you a very special broadcast that we've both put together for you. After struggling to find good audio quality recordings of poetry and lamenting at the lack of female producers in our music collection, we have used our planning powers to help address this, teaming up local Melbourne female and gender neutral poets and producers. The poets have recorded a piece which the producer has weaved a soundscape around, and I have in my hot little hand the final mixes, but we need your help to master and release the album. So we've launched a crowdfunding campaign on GoFundMe, and today I'll be presenting to you little snippets of the pieces with info about the artist to help to get you super duper inspired to cough up the cash. So first up, we have a pair that are very dear to my heart, one of my beat making and producing inspirations, Beatrice. Her love of Ableton is undying, and she makes some killer trip-hop, electro and ambient sounds. She set the score for Alabama-born poet Ebony Moncrief, whose writing really draws upon vulnerability and the authenticity that can be found when one is vulnerable. She makes us discover things about ourselves we never knew were there. This is just a little example, 30 seconds, of their full piece called Surrender to Self. You're on All Our Stories.
And those lingered in the pathway from ear to brain, sunk down deep into my heart, and I began to think, what am I projecting? Am I not as aware as I thought? Do these words hold truth? But even if there is truth, in truth there can be perception and interpretation without understanding. So I'll allow judgment to be cast upon me because I'm trying.
Just 40 seconds of what will be a full piece on the album that we're asking for your help to master and release. Next up, we have writer, poet and radio maker Izzy Roberts-Orr, whose voice and metaphor always soothes the frantic soul. Izzy worked with producer Anya Reynolds, an incredible multi-instrumentalist and one of the most talented ladies I know. She plays in a myriad of bands, composes scores, and is musical director for Circus Oz. Here's a little example of a piece they did called Sunlight.
I moved to a cave. I have become very small. I scrub the walls of my cave and fill it with echoes of Burt Bacharach and Beyonce. Like a rainbow, like a mirage. Still, I prefer to belong to myself. Don't touch me unless I say yes. Yes, I say to the mountain some days, my God, you are beautiful.
Izzy Roberts-Orr with Anya Reynolds there. A little snippet of what will be. And next up, Lisa Greenway, aka Lapcat, searches the globe for finest poetry and beats, creating new mixes and ambient compositions. She recently created the sound design for the amazing projection piece in the dome of the State Library as part of White Night, and she's created the sound bed for Sukhjit Khalsa, a proud Sikh woman and killer poet, so very witty and now famous thanks to her nation-building appearance on Australia's Got Talent. This is their piece to advance Australia Fair on All Our Stories.
Where the bloody hell are we? My people, the Sikhs, yeah, we have an identity just like you and him and her. And like Prue and Jim and Fleur. You see this hair, it's preened and seen, it stands for me and my choices. You see that turban? It belongs there in suburban Melbourne to Perth. It says, hey mate, we're all equal on earth. And if it's really a competition, Dorothy, maybe I'm more if Aussie means equality. Cause that turban, it's noble from start to end. It's worn to defend you, and you, and you, and you, and you. You can trust me, it says.
Sukjit Kalsa with Lisa Greenway, aka Lapcut. And if you support the crowdfunding campaign that we're running on GoFundMe, you will be able to get your hands on a copy of the mastered album featuring the full track of that, as if you don't want to help out. It's pretty amazing collaborations we've heard so far, and there's only more to come. The next pairing we have is Woods, another incredible young talent who produces her own music and writes scores for films, advertising and fashion shows. Her partner, Jessie Giles, whose poetry and writing is influenced by her upbringing in a remote Central Australian community and her belief in the healing power of story, they've got together to create this piece called I Spy.
She comes from a town camp that's an NT intervention casualty. They had good intentions, they tell me. She sits amongst squalor eating tin meat with 10 dogs at her feet, and her family get very little of that Australian dollar. Her cousin sisters and young aunties all been put on government orders. Volatile substance abusers. Not that soluble glue, but that intolerable chemical goo, that headache-inflicting like lead petrol sickening. They treated like drug users problem juniors. They blame these at-risk youth misusers and the abused. But I think we are all to be accused.
Jessie Giles, the poet there, teaming up with producer Woods. Incredibly beautiful and powerful stuff. The music really bringing out the emotion and the story behind the words. 22-year-old Memphis Kelly is one cool cat. She produces, sings and plays whatever instrument she can get her hands on. She was paired with young Ethiopian-Australian singer, poet, dancer and community development worker Sinet Segei. This poem is in Amharic, Ethiopia's national language, and asks the Ethiopian diaspora and Melbourne to mend their divisions and work together to build culture and pride. This is Sinet Segei and Memphis Kelly on All Our Stories.
ራስን ደብቆ ማንነትን ሸሽቶ አይመስለኝም ነበር የሚኖር ማንነት ተረስቶ ወራት አስቆጥረው ዓመታት አልፈዋል ሕይወት ታሪክ ሆኖ መንገዳችን ጠፍቷል አረ እስከ መቼ ሰው አገር ሊኖር ነው በራሳችን አገር ሳንሰራ ልሞት ነው ማንም ይቆረቆር ስለ ሀገር ፍቅር ምሳሌ የሚሆን በህብረት ሰብስቦ አንድ ወገን ያደርገን ቆይ ለምን በዘር በሃይማኖት መቃረን ሀበሻዊ ሆነን ባንድ እንጀራ አድገን አረ ጎሎን ነው እንዲህ ምን
Memphis Kelly and Sinet Segei there as part of this poet and producer project that myself and Leah Avene from All Our Stories on PBS have put together, teaming up female and gender neutral poets and producers to create some serious magic. As a budding producer myself, I worked with a couple of incredible poets. Firstly, Quinn Eads, a very special writer for me. She opened me up to a whole new style of writing where the words come from the body, giving voice to limbs and organs, often silenced by the mind. Bit of a language warning on this one, but this is Quinn Eads and myself on All Our Stories.
This cunt that I sit next to with your book against my fingers and on my thighs is etching, is time, is anatomy seen through, and in it I read love and what passes behind, and what changes, what stays, what roams, what goes. I know you. We have met now many times, and each time I meet you, I think, I am meeting you. I am meeting your words. I am meeting text. You are who I imagine when I hold you in bed, at work, in the 2 o'clock morning, on the train. I know you. So when I read you and have that insides exploding, I will disintegrate or scream fall. How can I contain what this page holds? And I am all of a sudden, always now, not who I was.
Queen Eads there, myself as the producer. I also worked with another poet, Catherine Gailar, Colombian-born visual artist. She uses poetry to bring out emotion in a different way from her visual art. It's often steeped in nostalgia and mythology. This poem is in Spanish and is a letter to Mother Nature, apologizing for human-bred destruction.
Hacer una cosa a la vez. Vivir con intensidad cada latido, cada minuto, cada proceso, cada amor, cada pérdida, la risa, el llanto y sin afán. Madre, mándanos un destello que despabile nuestra conciencia adormecida. Un rayo que impida nuestro naufragio en este pozo del olvido, el alarido de un recién nacido, volver a sentir tu respiro y aferrarnos a la esperanza.
That, my friends, was a little example of the poems that will feature on this album. If we can get it up and running, we need your help to master it and to the cost associated with releasing it, including pressing the album, paying the artists, and put on an awesome launch party that you are all invited to, of course. So please support our crowdfunding campaign on GoFundMe and head on to facebook.com/allourstories1067 for more information, or if you'd like to touch base, if you've got any questions. Big thanks to all the wonderful producers and poets that have been working hard creating these tracks. They're all finished. You just got a tiny little example of them. You'll hear them in their full entirety once we can get this album mastered. So please support. This has been All Our Stories on PBS.